I hope you'll go along with this rather unusual setting and the fact that I remain seated when I get introduced, and the fact that I'm going to come to you mostly through this medium here for the rest of the show. And I should tell you that I'm backed up by quite a staff of people between here and Menlo Park, where Stanford Research is located, some 30 miles south of here. And if every one of us does our job well, it'll all go very interesting, I think. The research program that I'm going to describe to you is quickly characterizable by saying, if in your office, you as an intellectual worker were supplied with a computer display backed up by a computer that was alive for you all day and was instantly responsive, instantly responsive to every action you had, how much value could you derive from that? Well, this basically characterizes what we've been pursuing for many years in what we call the Augmented Human Intellect Research Center at Stanford Research Institute. Now, the whole session is going to be devoted to trying to describe and present to you the nature of this program. But unfortunately, fortunately, the products of this program, the technology of it, lends itself well to an interesting way to portray it for you. So we're going to try our best to show you rather than tell you about this program. A very essential part of what we have developed technologically is what does come through this display to us. And I'm going to start out without telling you very much about the program and just run through a little bit of the action that this provides us. So in my office, I have a console like this, and there are 12 others that are computer supplies. And we try nowadays to do our daily work on here. So this characterizes the way I could sit here and look at a clear blank piece of paper. That's the way I start many projects. So with my system, that's a good start. I'll sit here and say, I'd like to load that in. So, sorry about that. So I'm putting in an entity called a statement, and that's full of other entities called words. And if I make some mistakes, I can back up a little bit. So I have a statement with some entities' words, and I can do some operations on these. I can copy a word. Say that word might copy after itself. In fact, that pair of words I like to copy after itself, and I can just do this a few times and get a bit of material there. And there are other entities like text. Say after there, I'd like to copy from that entity point to that point, and it'll copy it. Great. So I could get myself some material on my blank piece of paper, and then I'd say, well, this is going to be more important than it looks. So I'd like to set up a file. So I tell the machine, all right, I'll put to a file. And it says, well, I need a name. I'll give it a name. I'll say a sample file. And I'll say, please output it. It says it did. And then it comes back automatically with an origin statement or header telling me the name of the file and the date and the time and who established it. And thereafter, I can always do something. I can ask for the status of a file, and it'll tell me that information. Very small file now, owned by me, last written by me very shortly ago, etc., and other interesting data in there. So we've seen how we can start with a blank piece of paper and go to developing a file. This file has one statement with a few words in it. Let's make more statements. I'll say copy that statement, and lo and behold, I have another one. Copy that one, another one. I can even copy groups of statements. I can say after that one, copy the group from there to there. And it does. I can look at that and say, probably goes off the screen. It'd be interesting if I could ask the computer to collapse that, perhaps to show me just the first line of each of those statements. All right, please do that. So it did. This is one aspect of what we'll use over and over again through this presentation, what we call view control, where no matter where in the file we're looking, we can ask it to use any one of a large number of parameters for constructing a view at that point in the file that best suits our need at the time. This one wants us to give an overview of the thing. So I'll say, well, I have this. I don't want them all to be statement one, so I'll just replace the word there with a 2. And how about that one with a 3? Just a place to forget how to count. So I can look and say, all right, got statements 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I'd like to make them a little prettier, I can, I can go to work and neaten them up a little, but that isn't what I always do. Oops. You can tell that I have not warmed up yet. I hope you can tell. Right, all right. So I can get it lined up, and I can say, for instance, other entities like an invisible string. I don't know whether that's tabs or characters in there, but I can say if I want to replace that invisible string with just one character, not that character, that one, space, and it'll do it. So I can look at that and say I have files 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I've named them that way. But that's usually a sort of a pain to do that, so I'll ask it to number them themselves. And one of the views is such that it will give you a list numbering for each of those statements. And I can also open them all up or ask them without numbers, however I wish, and then I can output them. So we've seen ways to work fairly fast with the entities of a statement in a file, create a file. I can delete that file or mess it up considerably. Like if I'm going to say I want to delete that word, but I accidentally hit that entity instead, watch what happens. Sort of replaces the whole thing. It's nothing. That occasionally happens, so you say, all right, I'll load that file. And it'll come back in. As it was, I last saved it, telling me the date that I wrote it. And unfortunately, I didn't save enough. Well, I'm through with this example right now. Let me go to a file that I prepared just after my wife called me and said, on the way home, would you do a little shopping for me? So as soon as she said that, I got my system organized. And made a shopping list. So it's got quite a few items on it, and if I want to, I can see that, yes, those are numbered statements. And I can say there are ways I can scan down it, like I can point to 10